Rob Smith here. I'm delighted to be joined by Will fucking Fleury, the Octagon double champ. Will, how we doing, mate?
Yeah, all good.
So we'll talk about a bit of everything today, but we'll talk about first of all, you've achieved something that not many people can say they've done. You are a two-weight world champion simultaneously. So talk to me about how proud that makes you. Did you ever envision that happening at the start of your career?
No, it wasn't something I thought that much about. I just wanted to be good at fighting. Um, but I think as soon as I came to Octagon, I saw that there was an opportunity to do something pretty special here. Um, I really wanted that Carlos fight. Like when I made the video calling everybody out at the start when I signed, I could see that like this is going to be like the Carlos fight's going to be a hard thing to get. But once I get that, all doors are going to be open. Um, So when I knocked out Langer in the stadium in Frankfurt, and he was there in the commentary booth, and his fight had just pulled out, I couldn't have written it any better. It was like the ideal scenario, and thank God, like I feel really lucky in a way that everything worked out that way, and that it was just such a perfect scenario for me to then get that fight. And I had to badger him into it a little bit, but like I don't know, like I never saw myself being in this position, but I'm absolutely delighted that it's happened. And like, look, like there was a long time beforehand where I felt like all I need is a platform and all I need is things to click the right way because I've been here giving it socks and like I've been a really good fighter for a long time. But thank God it's finally happened. Like, I'm 36 now. I'm not a young guy. I've been around for a long time and I'm absolutely delighted to get this opportunity, but I'm really, really determined to make the most of it. So like you're saying like, oh, double champ and it's class. I'm really, really genuinely delighted with that. But I know that in a couple of years, if I don't make the absolute most of this window and go on and do something really special, which I have the ability to do, that I'm gonna feel like shit at the end of it all. That I know that I could have done more, and I never want to have that feeling. So like, as much as it's unbelievable to be the double champ, I really, really want to be a triple champ, and I want to like have a legacy there that's just like, whoa, he's the best fighter we've ever had in Octagon. And I think that's more than possible.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I was going to say about having what ifs in people's careers. And so do you believe becoming the double champ has added that little bit of added pressure to achieve even more?
It's not even a pressure, it's the desire. It's like
Yeah.
I know that I can go and do things now. Like I've proved to myself, to everybody else, like I can do special things. And you always sell it to yourself as in like, oh, you want to be training this hard to be able to go out and beat anybody in the world. But I think like there comes a point where you're like, well, it's do or die time with that shit. So you're either going to actually go on and take everybody, like, or do your best to take on everybody in the world and end this thing somewhat satisfied with what you've tried to do. Or you can curl up and go, ah, shit, no, it wasn't me. I wasn't the guy. I should have tried harder, done whatever. I don't want that at the end of this. I've another 4 or 5 years left if I'm lucky. I want to fight the best guys. I want to smash them all. And I want to end this going, yeah, fuck, I was damn good. No,
Now, has your mindset changed at all since you become double champ? Is the desire grown in you even more?
not really. Like, honestly, not much. Like, it's cool. Like, I think the only thing that has changed with me is people's response to me, if you know what I mean. And in a way, like over time, that could become dangerous. And I see that because, like, people just naturally assume whatever you say is like, yeah, that's God's word. Like, but like, because even in the gym now, if I give a young lad advice, I'm very conscious of the fact, like, mate, I better know that that's definitely the thing to be saying because, like, people are taking what I say very serious. Whereas I've been spouting on for years, nobody gave a shit. Like, so there's definitely, I know, like, yeah, in general, I don't feel like internally much has changed, but like the external reaction to things I do has definitely changed.
And there's something you mentioned earlier was the triple champ. I watched your Octagon interview with a good friend of mine, Patrick McCary, and I
I'm
was
sure
thinking,
that's
like triple champ. That is, I think that's only been done once for a major organization from the Fighter in One Championship. And so if
well,
you
he
can
didn't
do
make,
that, you'll
yeah, I
submit.
just, an important distinction there. So, like, it was Anatoly Malikin, but he
Yeah.
never made middleweight. So he was middleweight champ,
Oh,
light heavyweight champ, and heavyweight champ, but he didn't do it in the traditional weight classes. So their light heavyweight is 102 kilos, and their middleweight is 93. So
Oh, okay.
technically, I'm the fucking champ already in the same weight class as he is. He never made 84. Now, look, I
Okay.
understand they do their hydration test and all that type of thing, but like, you're not making 84 kilos. You haven't done it under the actual weight classes. So I'll be the first to do it under the traditional, unified rules weight classes.
Is that the fight that you want next? Is to go for the middleweight strap?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be the next fight, but it's definitely a fight I'm looking at. So the thing is, Engizek and Murdoch have to figure out, like, Murdoch just became interim champ at the weekend. Engizek's the official champ, but he's in the tournament now. Like, he just pulled out on McStanton. He was supposed to fight at the weekend. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, who knows if he shows up and fights Mick next time? If not, does he go and fight Murdoch then? I have a feeling he probably will do his best to not take hard fights. That's why the guy's undefeated for so long. Ultimately, I can see a situation next year, like maybe kind of February, March next year, where Murdoch is the champion and I can come down and claim for that belt. So, like, once he kind of becomes the proper champ rather than the interim champ, I'm more than happy to go down. But, like, in the meantime, I haven't fought light heavyweight since December. I want to go and defend that light heavyweight belt. And now, like, the process I'm in right now is figuring out who the challenger is going to be. Attila Vey's coach just said 2 days ago that he thinks Attila can beat anybody in the division still. Within Octagon, with the following that Attila has, that's a huge fight for me. If he wants to do it, I would absolutely love to do that fight. Um, but to be honest, in terms of like merit, Alexander Popik's probably the guy. Only problem is he's done everything he can to not say my name and avoid me and like hasn't talked about becoming champ at all since I've gotten the belt. So I don't know if he really wants it. And if he does, he's got to start putting himself out there a little bit more. Otherwise, I'd rather fight a guy like Attila that's going to do a lot more for my career, you know?
And do you get quite surprised by that? Because like, if I like, because when you were a contender, you'd want to be fighting the champion. You'd want to be calling their name every chance you get. I want to fight Will. I want to fight Will. Will's next. So you're quite surprised that Popek's kind of not been really mentioning your name.
Really surprised. So like if you look at it, like we became number one contender by beating the same guy and we knocked him out in a pretty similar way, right? I crack like him, Pavel Langer. He hits the floor, and literally as soon as he hits the floor and the ref touches me, I turn around and Carlos is beside the gate. Now, look, it's different because he was beside the gate, but I was just like, "You're next, mate. Get ready!" Like, screamed it at him, like within 5 seconds of knocking Langer out. Bopik does his best to like, oh yeah, I'd like to fight Munich next. Maybe like they didn't even mention like it was a weird one. He said that he'll take whatever is put in front of him. But it's like you're the number one contender now. The champ doesn't have a fight. Why wouldn't you call for that?
Yeah, it does seem a bit odd. I think.
Odd, very odd. Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
look, I don't want to be bullying anyone into a fight either. That's the weird thing. It's kind of like, well, I want you to want to fight. Like, this all has to be based on consent. Like, so it like that's why I'm just not that excited about that. It's kind of like, look, if Attila will fight, great. I know Attila's dangerous. I know that like even though he's lost 2 fights now, the guy's still got a lot of experience and he's had a massive legacy and it would mean a lot to me. Like he beat one of my training partners, Paul Byrne, a couple of years back. And I remember that night pretty well. And I remember just thinking, like, you know what, I could have a cut off this lad. And to be in that position now where like it would be a huge fight and I'm the champ and he'd be the one coming up challenging. And obviously it would be in his home place and he'd have all the support. Cool. That sounds like that excites me. Like the thought of doing something like that would be like class. The thought of fighting Popix, just like right, I'd take the box and then move down to middleweight. And like not that Popix a shy fighter. Probably to be honest, he's actually a tougher fight. But if a guy doesn't believe he can win the fight, why are we doing this? I want guys who are going to come and challenge, and I want it to be a real raw, like proper fight every time.
And so if Popek is next, did you get much say in who you fight next? Do you go to Octagon and say like this to get so say if you want me to tell a fight next, would you say Attila's the guy like next, or is it they approach you?
Look, I've come in as an Irish guy with like no fan base in Central Europe. I don't get to dictate anything really, but like I noticed when I did the social media stuff with Carlos, it definitely has an effect. So I don't think if I talk the way I talk, like, if I just stay quiet during that process and like knocked out the number one contender, not said that, and I definitely wouldn't have got the Carlos fight. So I'm not even now as champ. I don't think I'm in a position to call the shots. And I shouldn't be really. You know, it's a sport at the end of the day. There should be kind of like a little bit of like, no, you're fighting this guy. Obviously, they're going to do what makes them the most money. I am the champ. So, like, there are, if there's anyone who actually wants to get anywhere in the sport, they have to go through me. You know, it's like Vosgrone. Like, I'd like, from a career point of view, fighting Vosgrone would be class because, like, loads of Germans think he's unreal right now. But all of them in Oktagon know that I absolutely smash him in a couple of minutes. You know, it wouldn't take long for me to just destroy that guy. So there's a vested interest in their behalf of protecting him and like allowing him to develop that little bit of hype, and then maybe eventually they'll let me smash him. I get that. I can understand that from a point, like that's part of the business of the whole thing. But in my job, like I can influence a little bit through social media and maybe push towards one fight. But I'll be honest, like I'm in a position where I don't give a bollocks. Like if whoever they put me against, grand. Like I can legitimately smash anybody in the division. I just want the fights to be big and to be well promoted. And like this thing, I think like they're starting to buy into it a little bit because they didn't feel like an Irish guy could go and sell in Central Europe as well as I have. But like I was just over at the event in Prague. Fuck, people love me there. Like I'm legit famous. It's class. It's like, I've never had that before in my career. Even being an Irish guy fighting in Ireland, it wasn't as big as the response I got going over to Prague last weekend. Like, it was huge. Like, I was getting followed by crowds of fans. Like, I kind of felt bad to not be able to take a photo or whatever. And at times, like, so that's unbelievable. I want to create more of that. I want to, like, push that kind of big fight buzz as much as possible. But, like, I'm in a position now where I feel like whoever that guy is, whoever the guy you're going to put me against, just make it as big a fight as possible. I don't mind who it is. I genuinely don't.
And there's a name you mentioned there, and Frederick Vosgrone, and he's kind of just exploded out of Norway. He kind of came in as this unknown guy, and he's gone super viral. He seems almost like a social media star that's also a fighter at the same time at this point. And I know I have seen the people saying, "Oh, he should be next," and I've seen people say, "Oh, he should fight World next." I'm thinking he's only had, is it 4 fights?
Yeah, he's 4-0, yeah.
I'm thinking like that's almost lamp of the slaughter stuff, like putting someone who's 4-0 in with someone like yourself who's been there, done that, had the experience. I like Frederick, and I think he's very good at it. Down the line, it could be a good fight, but I just think 4-0, it's a bit too soon. Would you agree?
Would, like, look, in terms of real life, yeah, of course. Like, the only thing is, Popic doesn't want it. Attila probably won't take it. Freddie's actually called for it, and he said it a bunch of times. And even like, so he made the call out video like I did. I don't know if anybody realized that, but I did that when I came, and then he just copied what I did. Like, you know, in fairness, he said my name consistently and he said he wants to fight me consistently. So I can see why German fans are buying into that because he does have the ambition to go and do it. The thing, like, if he'd fought at the weekend and he'd looked really good against a pretty experienced guy, then you could justify it. So I was annoyed with him when he pulled out. It was just like, man, if you're going to talk the shit, do it. You actually have to show up and whoop a guy's ass now. And he didn't. So I'm a bit disappointed from that point of view of like, that could have been a big one hype wise and, it would have been fun to go out and smash him. Like, there's a lot of German fans who seem to think that like he's going to absolutely destroy me. And I think for anyone who actually knows about MMA at all, like it's like God, no, that's not going to be the case.
But
Um, but look, like I, I still think that he could actually be genuinely dangerous in a way long term. Like you were saying, it's more from his point of view. Is he doing the right things to make him so like within a year? I think the guy could have learned the skill set to shut down a lot of what my effective weapons would be, and then make it a situation where I have to grapple with him. In fairness, I thought I was going to knock Carlos out in the first round. I genuinely was like, yeah, this is going to be over pretty quickly. Look how open the guy is. But when a guy tucks his head and just swings over the top and rushes into you, they can connect with you. Like, and like, probably I could have thrown more knees and more uppercuts and that type of thing. But like, I didn't get it tactically right that day, and he made it a much tougher fight than I was expecting. That was all very dominant on my behalf, but like, I still like, I think he could be a challenge, and it'd be exciting if he was. And I need someone to step up to the plate. So he seems to be the only guy who's really shouting about it. I'd give him the chance. I'd love to give him the chance. It'd be great for me as well. So like, as long as he can actually go and prove something, I have no problem fighting him. It's not like I won't. I will, like, I'll make fucking, a bigger long-term social media following from it all and a bigger like there'll be more hype behind my name in Germany after I smash in. So for my career, it's probably actually a better fight than some of the other lads, but like on a merit basis, no, it doesn't look like he deserves it yet, really.
And I was seeing in Pride, you two were kind of sharing the sort of like little media booth together and having a bit of chat back and forth. So can you kind of tell us what you two were talking about in that scenario?
Yeah. I was pretty much like they asked me what I wanted next, and I was like, well, it could have been Freddie, but he pulled out. And then it was kind of him making a few excuses about why he pulled out. And I just kind of gave him a bit of a grilling over like what happened, why he pulled out, why he didn't. That was the funny thing. It was the manner in which it all went down. So it's kind of hard to explain this properly, but he pulled out on like the Tuesday, which was 4 days before the fight. But then he only posted and he posted some reel with like some influencer lad of him like wearing a caveman costume, beating on a cow,
Yeah, I
you know.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's the last reel he put up, which was less than 24 hours before pulling out. And then he doesn't address the pull out on his own social media. And then when he does, it's kind of like very vague. It's like what's actually happened here. Um, So basically, he got surgery on varicose veins, and that then didn't heal quite like the way it should have healed. But that's an elective surgery, mate. You don't need to get surgery on that. And even at that, like, you throw a few stitches in it, go and fight, and let it fucking settle down after. You're gonna have a couple of months regardless. So, like it's 4 days before the event, and you had that surgery a month ago. Just when you add it all up as a fighter, you're like, you could have fucking fought if you'd wanted to, mate. So the attitude there actually scares me more than the actual fact that he's pulled out of the fight. And even just it like I don't know if the guy's just saying my name to get followers or whatever. And that's kind of what I was there to find out. So I went at him a little bit and I kind of pushed him a bit. I was like, do you actually want this fight or you just call him for it because you think it's the thing you should do? And he stared me in the eyes and he said, no, no, I want this fight. I want you at the end of the year. And I was like, all right, make that happen. Go and smash somebody. And I was kind of grilling him of like, sure, that's not a serious injury. When can you fight again? He was like, oh, soon. And I was like, why didn't you just fight with it? And then heal up for a while after. Like I went in and fought Dash 4 with my hand in like three pieces. It was kind of like I had to get a second sword. Like I broke in Las Vegas, Barnes Strickland, and then it was badly bust up. But I was like, you know what? I'm coming off a ban. I've nothing left to lose. If I don't go in and smash this lad, my career is basically over anyway. If I pull out of this, and it kind of felt like the England Ireland thing wasn't going to be a big thing for them long term, and like this turned out to be completely the way it actually happened. Of like, should they pulled out of England and Ireland? They barely were mad to keep me on after. It was only the fact that I knocked out Langer so impressively in the stadium and then made the Carlos thing. And now it's kind of like, well, sure, look, they bought into me to check that. So you can't get rid of me now. But like, I think if I hadn't done that fight, it would have been a very tough thing to redeem your career. And now here I am as a double champ in a pretty big organization, like in Europe's biggest organization anyway. And even, I'll be honest, one thing as well, the shows they put on, just been there as a fan last weekend, like, and I've worked with a lot of different promotions over the years. Like, I've never talked too highly of any of them because I've felt let down by a lot of them. Octagon, as much as like they haven't bought into the Irish guy being the man as much as they could have, they put on a fucking really good show. They're very professional. Everything behind the scenes is really well organized. Like, what they're doing is genuinely special in a way. And like, I feel like as long as the lads have the energy to keep going and keep building it, this thing will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the structure behind the business is very sustainable. Like they've become unbelievably mainstream in the markets that they're in. Like I can walk around Dublin, maybe fucking one in every thousand people will recognize me, right? Because like I don't have a massive profile as a fighter here. Like Oktagon definitely aren't massive here at all. But like if I go through Prague, like just walking around the city, even like I was in the city before I went in, I'm like, okay, it's a fight day. There's going to be more fight fans around. But even when I went over for the hand surgery, like I'm fucking legitimately famous in Prague, which is mad. And like in Germany, I assume it'd be fairly similar. Now, maybe not to quite the same extent because I haven't fought like some German hero. I have fought Carlos, who's like a big Czech hero. But it's now on me to kind of exploit that and like make the most out of that. But also like I feel like they can go into new markets and do that thing where they've just made themselves very mainstream again and again and again. Like if they're like they've definitely gotten the recipe right in the Czech Republic and in Germany, and they've definitely managed to like kind of put themselves in a position where they are what MMA is. They're like, German fans, Octagon is MMA for them. And that's really powerful. And Germany's a huge country and they're on RTL and the whole thing there seems very sustainable. And they're coming like, look, they have me doing loads of mad stuff like signing thousands of cards to go off to send, or like that people can then go online and buy from the Octagon store. And it's very well set up. It's very professional. And even the way they promote the fights is a bit better than any of the other companies I've worked with over the years. And it seems like they're invested in creating a narrative behind every fight. It's a bit of effort. You can tell that like there's a bit more goes into this on the backside of like their production team has to do a little bit more. They're like they have a lot more employees than most of the companies that I've worked for as well. Definitely more so than Bellator, the PFL. Um, and you can feel it. It's you can see where like what those guys are doing. It's like being with a company where it's like, oh, well, this much gets taken out of my check, but I see it on the back end. And you're like, well, yeah, actually, there's a lot being done here that, you know, most companies aren't really doing. And it means that this whole thing is sustainable and this whole thing will create something bigger and bigger. It just seems like a very well set up, smart company.
And we kind of spoke about what's next and things. And I've recently saw a story from yourself, and is the fight I want to see is the Alexander Gustafsson fight. I know it's kind of just rumors and things, but that would be such a ginormous fight. Like Gustafsson is a serious MMA legend. Like everyone respects Gustafsson. In my opinion, he won that John Jones fight. That's just my opinion, the first one.
Yeah,
But like that fight would be, and what would it mean to you to fight a legend like Gustafsson?
it'd be huge. Like I talked about that fight 2 years ago, before I even signed with Octagon. And then he was getting ready for the GFL. And I thought, well, this GFL thing is unlikely to happen. And when it did, like it really looks extremely unlikely now. So there's no better time than now for it. He's a huge name everywhere around Europe. Everyone remembers that John Jones fight. Like European MMA wasn't in a great place at that stage, and he went out there and represented it really well. So I would absolutely love to be able to test myself against a guy like that. I really hope that he's in shape and that he's interested and that something can happen. As far as I know, he hasn't really responded to any of the stuff yet. Like I tagged him in a couple of stories. I didn't get any response to those. But yeah, like I I grew up watching Gustafsson. So like it would be very emotional to fight that guy and do it as like I'm the champ and he's coming in as the challenger. I really, really hope that can happen. But I don't have full control over that situation.
And my final question, because I don't want to keep you too long, is you say how you've probably got 4 or 5 years left if you're lucky. And when it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Don't like it's more about how I want to think about myself.
Yeah.
And if I was to be able to just go, you know what, you didn't let fear overcome you. You didn't like allow the easy thing, like, because we all settle into little kind of pockets of comfort. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I know I can do this. Sure, I'll just keep doing this. It's always a little bit, oh, you don't want to go and like even making middleweight. When I sit here and I talk about making middleweight, my brain's like, oh, Will, why are you saying that? That's going to be horrible. Like, you're going to have to change all of your patterns and all of your routines. You're going to have to start doing a load of stuff you're not used to doing, and your body's going to feel really different. It's going to be really uncomfortable. And it's like, yeah, but would you rather be the guy who left stuff behind you? Would you rather be the guy who's 42 years of age going, do you know what? I could have done a lot more with this. And I like, that scares me more than the thought of actually going through something uncomfortable scares me. So if I have to go through something really uncomfortable to avoid that thing of like, actually, I could have had this amazing legacy, but I didn't push myself enough. And I need to get better at actually stating what this whole thing is. But I need to condense that. But basically, I don't want to leave that behind me. And it scares the shit out of me that I might, and that I might feel like I'm going to be, in my mid 40s going like, if you just kind of managed your rehab a little bit better a couple of times, you could have had one or two more fights and you could have had that legacy and you could have had that special moment or like looking at Carlos walking out to that stadium there and they've got C'est la Vie on, and like 28,000 people from his home country singing along with him. Like, it's hard not to get emotional there, and it's hard not to want to that for yourself. And I know that I have to go and do a lot of special things if I'm going to make that. Like, I'd love to have my last fight in the Tree Arena and just walk out and have a couple of good tunes playing and like be able to savor that moment and go out there and give it a serious performance as well and go out on that high. That's what I'm working for. That's what I'm building towards all that time. Like, there's no lack of desire here. The desire is definitely here to go out there and put on amazing fights and do special things. It's the fear of not doing those that continues to drive me. And like, I know how fickle this game is, and I know how easily all of this stuff can be taken away from you. I've seen it, I've felt it, like I've been like quite fortunate. Like last year, even sure, look, I broke my thumb twice in the last year, and I've also torn my PCL really badly. And they just all happened to happen at times where like okay, the first one was not an ideal time, it was 2 weeks before a fight, but the others, I broke it right after becoming double champ, and the PCL injury was like in the period I had when I was recovering from surgery anyway. So like I was very lucky with those injuries. They could have prevented fights from happening, but thankfully they didn't. I like I really just want to make the very best of the time I have. And I've worked this hard and this long to be a fucking mad bastard with good fighting skills who can go out there and promote a fight. So why not go out and do that? I can enjoy the shit out of the next few years. And then like when you're in your mid 40s and you're setting yourself up for the rest of your life, you can look back on all of that shit and just laugh and go, geez, you were a mad bastard. Like, yeah.
Well, mate, that is a very very powerful but incredible answer, mate. It's the very much the Will Fleury answer. And I just want to say
Cheers.
thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. Whether it's Popek, Attila, Frederick, could be anyone, Gustus, and who knows, whoever's next, I can't wait to watch.
Brilliant. Cheers, Rob. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
the time.